Sports is a whole different dynamic. That's all about performance. How many home runs did you hit? How many goals did you score? It seems to be so competitive, whereas theater and the arts seems to be completely different. It's about that support that people give each other in order to create together, and theater especially is a collective creation. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Live from Studio C, it's Chilliwack Creative Commission's Creative Third Thursdays. Chilliwack Creative Commission is located on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Stolo Coast Salish peoples. I'm Jeff Edwards. I'm a Canadian multidisciplinary creative professional working as an actor and a voice actor. I'm based near Vancouver, BC. I'm chair of the Chilliwack Creative Commission's Creative Third Thursdays Committee. We always like to say hi to our studio audience at Studio C. We really appreciate it when they come out. To be in our studio audience, tickets are free, and you can visit creativethirdthursdays.com to get yours. There's free beer, non-alcoholic beer, and soft drinks. So we record these episodes in the co-work Chilliwack Studio C, and Studio C is the creation of a guy named Tim McAlpine. Let's thank the man for hosting. Okay, Tim, let's roll that intro.
Meet this month's featured creative, a theater kid from the 70s who grew up to become mayor between 1999 and 2008. He made arts a critical part of his platform. He's an award-winning director with the Chilliwack Players Guild, utilizing their impressive facilities to bring stories to life. Now in his 70s, he's embarked on a celebrated new chapter as a published playwright, with a debut work that's already garnered provincial awards and been picked up by Barnes & Noble. Please welcome this month's featured creative, who perfectly combines civic duty with creative passion, Clint Hames.
Hi, everybody. Oh. Yeah, it's a long story. 1971, that is.
I want to thank you for everything you've been doing for the arts and the creative community in Chilliwack for so many years. And I really want to thank you for coming and being helping us to build this creative community here at Creative Third Thursdays, first off.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here, Mr. Mayor. So you've had a remarkable journey, notably going from theater to serving as mayor. You're not currently mayor, just for the studio audience. What initially drew you to being a theater kid, first of all?
Oh, that's a really simple answer. The environment that's created in the theater, whether it's community theater, whether it's professional theater, I don't care what theater it is, the environment that's created by that process is so inclusive, so encouraging, so welcoming that it's a wonderful and very healthy environment to be in. When I first got involved in theater, the encouragement from everybody you work with, it was just a magical space to be in and to work in, and anybody who gets involved, and there's a few theater folks out in the audience here, I think they might tell you exactly the same thing. That's what's wonderful about it, and to be able to create in an environment with that kind of encouragement is pretty addictive.
So we want to cover your involvement with the Chilliwack Players Guild, obviously in this talk, but starting off with, it is always nice to know what really draws people to, or even when their moment is when they realize they're a creative. So I always like to look back on that. Can you think of that moment in time that you said, this is what I want to do?
I don't know if there's an actual moment. I think it started with a lot of people of my age, and thank you for saying in his 70s. It just sounds, it's quite a shock to hear that.
It's the funny thing is, he saw that question earlier and he said, well, I started my play in my 60s.
It took a while. I think it started back in the early 60s. The first thing for me was watching the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show and watching them perform and watching that creativity and think, wow, that's amazing. And look at how people like that. And and watching that creative process. And then, as I say, throughout growing up, getting involved in things that were creative. And I have to say it, like I was involved in sports and all of those other things like other kids. Sports is a whole different dynamic. That's all about performance. You know, how many home runs did you hit? How many goals did you score? It seems to be so competitive, whereas theater and the arts seems to be completely different. It's about that support that people give each other in order to create together, and theater especially is a collective creation. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
What would you say that your background in the theater influenced your approach to public service?
Well, on one level, it was because of my background and my belief that the arts and theater specifically had such a positive impact on a community that I decided to throw my hat into the ring for city council, because we didn't have a lot of support in those days for the arts in our community. Everything was a scrabble to get things together. And I thought, well, maybe a voice on city council that can articulate what the arts needs and how valuable it is would be helpful. And so I ran in 1990, I guess, for the first time, and was elected, and then served 18 years there. And all the while, everyone on council, if there were any of them here, would tell you that I was relentless whenever we talked about funding for the arts, to say, you know, this is going to happen. And then I got the chance to run for mayor, and that's when you really begin to influence the agenda. And conveniently retired as soon as we got the shovels in the ground for the new cultural center. I said, okay, I'm done. I'm happy to now enjoy that part.
Why is it so important that we support the creative community and the arts in a community?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that think that the arts is a frill, and they don't understand the deep economic impact that the arts has on a community. Just a simple thing like putting on a production, like when the Chilliwack Players Guild does a production, we probably invest $35,000 in a production. That's our cost. That generates 4 times that amount in terms of ticket sales and activity in the community as people go out for dinner and come and see shows. Now multiply that across, and we have a fabulous center which is busy all the time. Multiply that across dozens and dozens and dozens of events that happen in that center, and people go out for dinner and they buy tickets and they invest in that. Then you talk about the impact that I talked about originally, which is the impact on, say, young folks that are getting involved in the School of Performing Arts, and you can see it on their faces when they're involved, and it creates these wonderful people when you get involved in that. So that on a social level, it has an unbelievable impact, but it also has a tremendous impact on the economy within a community. And we proved that when I was mayor. We did a study, the Economic Development Commission, who supports and funds the Creative Third Thursday, said, well, if you believe that, let's do a study and find out the economic impacts of the arts in a community. And it showed that, in fact, it did have a huge impact. So since then, we've been investing in the community arts in all manner of different ways. And I think it's made us a better community.
We had a film commission to begin with, because we recognized films coming to the community help to, like you say, people, need food, they need places to stay. There's all kinds of, ancillary expenses that are looked after in the community like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your award-winning play, Hector, is inspired by your experience working with special needs individuals. What personal insights and moments did you draw from that influenced this play?
Well, interesting story about Hector. Hector was an actual person that I knew and supported through his endeavors through most of his adult life. And while the play takes his name, the actual stories that are contained in this play are a compendium of a whole bunch of different people that I came in contact with, and a whole bunch of situations I came in contact with. And I kind of bundled it all up into one family, one character. But the play actually features stories and incidents from a range of different things that happened in my life that I found compelling, interesting, tragic, heartwarming, all of those things. And I put them all into sort of one linear story. And I was quite pleased with how it came out. I had no idea what the final product would look like, because you don't know until you actually see it on stage. And then had the honor of working with some unbelievably talented people, who many of whom are here, who helped and have a piece of this play. And we put together a production which went on to win a number of awards. So I think we're all pretty proud of the
provincial award.
Yeah, there's an organization called Theatre BC, which is a parent organization of all the community theatres in British Columbia, and they have regional festivals, and then the winners of those regional festivals go to a provincial festival. And Hector won most of the awards at the regional festival, and then a couple of awards at the provincial festival.
So what's it like taking real life experiences and turning them into a fictionalized story like that? How do you work that in your head? Like,
as most people will say, I don't tend to talk a lot, so it's very very difficult for me.
Guys, he's sharing from his heart.
It's sort of the internal dialogue that you have in a situation, and I seem to be able to generate that internal dialogue. And my problem was, and thanks to the help of some very gifted and talented people who helped me with the script, my problem was, because it was my profession, so much of the original dialogue in the play was sort of professional jargon, and people would read it and go, what does this mean? Oh, I can tell you what it means, yeah, but the audience isn't going to know.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay, we gotta simplify it. So, yeah. But it was sort of an ongoing internal dialogue, and I pictured myself in that position. And actually, one of the characters in the play is really sort of me, my perspective in the play. So that character was easy to kind of write for. Mm-hmm. And Hector, of course, I had a really good sense of who Hector might be and how he might react in these situations. So it was a fun process.
You got all kinds of acknowledgments in the book. Who are some of the people that were key to helping you translate from your rather technical way of describing things?
Well, there's a few people on the outside of the cast which I'd love to acknowledge. There's a couple of people here who were really, really instrumental in helping me through it. Graham Dowden is here. He's a university prof in English, and he went through and said, yeah, people don't use that word. No, you can't have that. There's a comma missing. You need to do that. And of course, my dear friend Ian Fenwick spent many long hours with me going through, and it was a wonderful process, because I had the play originally set in modern day, and he said, okay, who is this character? When were they born? All of the stuff that you don't know but has to be the background for the character. And he said, well, if that's the case, I think you're 20, when you're 20 years off, maybe you could set it here and here. And I said, that's great. And he said, now you got to get rid of that cell phone, because they didn't have cell phones. You got to add a pager. You've got to do this. What time of year is it? Well, I guess the roses are blooming, so it's okay. So you don't have to worry about coats. What about this? So he just has an unbelievably sharp mind about that kind of detail that, as a new playwright, hadn't even considered half of that stuff. And then through the process, Katie Lowe, who's here, was in at every rehearsal as what we call a dramaturge, who would sort of be a go-between between the actors and the director and author. And they would say, this is an awkward way of saying that. Do you think you could ask the author if I could change how I say that? Yes. What do you think? Oh, yeah, I think that.
Just a minute. Let me check with the director.
Yeah. And so people like that were just invaluable to getting the script up and running. And we have other people here that were involved in the show. Judy Hill, my dear friend, wrote theme music for the play, so that before and between scenes, there's this beautiful, haunting melody that had a through line through the show. And Maggie did the costumes. And, you think, well, it's 1980s. How hard is that? Just go into my closet and you could get anything you needed. But, you have to do all that stuff. Raymond was our stage manager. And so just a ton of wonderful creative people here. And then there's, I think, 3 members of the cast here today. Graham, who my dearest and one of my oldest friends, Graham, who I worked with supporting people with disabilities for many, many years. Graham played Hector and knew Hector, so was able to kind of bring that out and won tons of awards for his portrayal. And Cassandra Wilson is here. Where's Cassandra? She's at the back.
The
there.
studio audience is
Yeah, and Mary Ellen is there, and they played the senior and junior social workers that infest people's lives when you have a disability and come in and it's like, I'm from the social work department. I'm here to help, and whether they actually help or not, who knows?
The play has received significant acclaim, like we mentioned. What message do you hope resonates with the audience?
I think it's pretty easy in that world to pigeonhole who people are based on labels that they get. And so as soon as you hear the label that Hector carries, whether it's the R word, which was popular in the 1980s, or whether it's disabled or autism or any of those words, your brain immediately floods in with all kinds of preconceived notions. And so I hope that message comes that you can't judge a book by its cover, by its lovely cover, available on Amazon. I think that's part of it. I think the other piece of it is that the play, it says a play about forgiveness, and it really tests the limits. I hope you'll all buy it and read it now that you're so excited about it. It tests the limits of what forgiveness is. So it's an examination of, it came from a saying, which was forgive and forget. Is that the saying? And it changed around in the play, and it's forget and forgive. And it sort of examines, do we actually ever forgive, or do we just forget? And then that can be, things can bring that back for us. And not now, okay, I don't forgive anymore because I've remembered, or I've forgotten, so I've forgiven. And that's just a kind of an interesting, but it's a mystery, and it sort of follows the classic mystery style. There's 3 or 4 twists and turns in it. So yes, it's a drama, and it's a family drama and that, but it also has a fair amount of mystery in it, where audiences were known to gasp at certain points of the play as things were revealed. So
so it's a long collaboration you've had with the people that worked on this play. So let's talk a little bit about the creative environment of the Chilliwack Players Guild. How does that work?
Well, I think for a project like this, or any project, and we have a number of people here that have directed plays, and I think they would say the same thing, that it really starts with a trust. And it's not just, an actor or director, rather, trusting the actors. It's the actors trusting the director, trusting the script. And that's why this is so amazing, because you can do Death of a Salesman, and everybody knows that's a great script. It's tried and true, and it's a Pulitzer Prize winner, and so you can trust that script. For actors to come together and say, yeah, okay, Clint, we'll give it a shot. It's an amazing amount of trust. And the people I worked with, I've worked with some quite a bit over the years, and others this was the first time I'd ever worked with them. But there was a trust relationship. We trusted each other. We trusted the script, and that's really what generates, I think, the best collaborative environment. And I think most theater groups would say, yeah, it starts with that. It starts with trusting the people that are around you.
Yeah, and being supported in choices that you make,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What unique dynamic did the actors bring to the performance? So now what I'm thinking with this question is, when you actually sat with an audience and watched it, what was really thrilling to you about how you got to that point?
I don't know about thrilling, because, the first night, basically in the back row throwing up, but because you don't know, you have no idea. I'd done a couple of cold reads, just book reading for a small audience to get a sense of how the thing was playing. And opening night, what really surprised me was there was humor in the script that we had sort of kind of knew it might be in the background, but the audience sort of got absorbed into the story so quickly that the humor came out, and there were some places that were funny. I won't spoil anything in the script by telling you that it starts with the death of Hector's mother, as the audience believes, Hector's mother, and he sees life very simply. And the neighbor comes in and helps him kind of get through this process. Okay, don't worry, I'll hang around until the coroner comes or the police comes or the ambulance, and we'll deal with this. Don't worry, Hector. There's things we've got to do. And Hector says, should I get a shovel? Because in his very simple mind, living on the farm, that's what you did when something
died.
You dug a hole. And I knew that it was a little bit funny, but it was pretty funny. And there were other pieces that the warmth of the character, and it speaks to the skill of the people that were doing those roles. They brought such warmth and reality to it that it brought some of that humor to the front, which I thought that was a real surprise to me, because we weren't sort of playing it, but sometimes that's the best kind of humor, that you're not deliberately trying to play.
So over 50 years of collaboration with this group.
50 years.
What do you guys do to celebrate?
I was.
Can you talk about it?
Well, yeah. We always have cast parties to celebrate when a production is over. And I think in our younger days, and there's some people here I know from our younger days, that celebration got pretty wild. And we would do theater in order to have a cast party. It felt like most of the time. Now, as we get a little older, we celebrate and we move on to the next project, happy that things have moved on. It's the magic for me. I've said this to you before. Magic for me about theater is it's just there for a minute, then it's gone. Mm. It's not like film. It's not like recording music that's there forever. Theater is there and then it's gone, and it just exists.
The audience carries it.
Yeah, you carry it, and if you've done a really good job, audiences remember for a long, long time, and that to me is the magic of it. So we do celebrate after every show, and we celebrate as a theater group, and we celebrate with other theater groups, and we try to always celebrate creativity. It's important. It's important to do that.
So embarking on becoming a playwright in your 70s, that's inspiring.
60s.
So age doesn't have to be an obstacle, apparently, to being creative.
I would say being in your late 60s and doing a talk show indicates clearly that creativity is still a spark in all of us. I don't know that there's, I'm looking around the room here and there's a bit of a sea of blue rinse going on in some of this. I don't think creativity ever stops. I think, why would it? And I didn't feel like when I sat down and started really working on the play in earnest, I might be too old for this. I don't know. Why would you stop if you still feel that spark?
Yeah, just keep doing what you love to do. Because for years, people would say, what are you going to do when you retire? Well, I don't really think I'm going to retire, like in the classic sense of it. I'm, sit around and have a Mai Tai and put my feet up in the sun somewhere. Yeah. I like to do that sometimes, though. Yeah, it is something. It's just within you. It's just what you do. It's just who you are, right?
Yeah, it's a blessing to be able to have these pursuits, to be able to go out and work on shows and be part of the creative community. It is just a blessing, and I think I'll just keep doing it until they tell me I can't. Until my wife puts me in a home.
Can you tell me a bit about the new play? What phase are you at with the new one you're working on?
I've got an idea. I've written a few scenes, and I'm now kind of at that point where I'm balling it up and saying, this is garbage. But I was there with Hector with the same thing. I've gotten to a fork in the road, and I have to figure out where it's going, and I've got some decisions to make about the end, how the play ends. Mm-hmm. But it's the same style in that it's there are moments that I want to have in the play where the audience goes, "Oh, that's what that's all about." Mm-hmm. Oh, and so it's some of the same themes. It involves rather than disability and intellectual disability, as is the case with Hector, it involves someone with a mental illness and a struggle that they're having, and kind of a connection. So and it's fun because you get inspiration all the time. Going, oh yeah, that would be cool, and then you want to go back and write some more. So I've got to go and because I just had another one.
So you're not at the point of collaborating with anybody yet?
Oh no. I'll probably follow the same format. I'll get Act 1 written and then take it to some people I know and say, let's read this for me and see what it sounds like. And where do you think, with Hector, I did that and said, where do you think the play should go from here? And I got some great feedback. Nobody liked my idea. They all liked another idea. And so, yeah.
So what legacy do you hope to leave through your continued creative pursuits? On a micro level, I'd love to see somebody do the play and I could just go and watch it. I'd probably be the worst audience member ever, but I would love to see that happen. Do you mean somebody that didn't grow up with you?
Yeah, that somebody bought this off Amazon.ca, available now, and bought it and read it and said, I really want to do this play, contacted me and then I could go to opening night. I'm assuming New York or Broadway, but would do the play and I could go see it. That's on that kind of macro level. On a bigger level, legacy, it's already there. It's in place. It sits on Corbould Avenue, and it's one of the finest cultural centers in the country. And I am more proud of being able to have a role in creating that. And if that's all that people ever remembered me for was I got that done from a creative perspective, I'd be beyond happy.
Where can people interact with you?
I am on Facebook. And just my name. And where else am I? I think I have an Instagram thing too, and it's just at Clint Hames, I think. And I never sign on to them. They just exist, right? So yeah. And but I would also say check out the Players Guild's website, playersguild.ca, because information about theater, I think there's probably things I've done in there, things that lots of folks have done. It's a great environment, and if you're at all interested, that's the place to go. And there's lots of information about Hector on the website from our production, and lots of other great things that we're doing coming up. We're doing a radio play at the Cultural Centre on Saturday, an old-time radio play, which is really, really fun. And I don't know, I think there's still a few tickets left, but it's fun. And there you go.
Clint, we all thank you for your years of helping to build a creative community here in Chilliwack, and for being a featured creative and helping us build this community at Creative Third Thursdays. So Clint Hames, everybody, playwright.
Thank you. Just one thing to say. I want to make sure that there's more people here for me than there was for Dylan. So I'm just gonna count quickly.
Stop. Creative Third Thursdays is a Chilliwack Creative Commission event. For more about us, look for Creative Commission at businessinchilliwack.com. And check out our previous episodes. If you're watching on YouTube, search Creative Third Thursdays Chilliwack. Like, subscribe, tell us what you think in the comments. And thank you all for watching. And I'm Jeff Edwards. Big thanks to today's studio audience. You guys have been great. A big thank you to Studio C. And I'm thirsty. Yeah. This is kind of, if you guys are new to Creative Third Thursdays, it's kind of a tradition. There are more cold drinks in the lobby, and you can meet people, chat about creative things, help us build this creative community starting here in Chilliwack. And don't forget to like and share, and share that you were at Creative Third Thursdays using our hashtag. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.